Meanwhile, let's talk about war. A simple weapon is allowing Iran to control, for the moment, one of the world's most important bodies of water, where 20% of the world's oil is transported through. So let's turn to the wall and learn about sea mines. Fundamentally, what are they? They're supposed to detonate and blow open the hull of a ship. What have they done? They drop to the bottom, and oftentimes they're moored with wires. Those wires, on the positive side, can be cut, and that can be disabled. But they could be down there, and they could be triggered. For example, they can count. Some of them can count, where they maybe one ship goes, the second ship goes, and it's scheduled for the third one, then it'll explode. It makes it tougher and tougher to figure out if that pathway is actually clear or not. Okay, to avoid triggering the magnetic mines, hulls are now changed in the material in which they're made. They've gone to fiberglass in some cases, and believe it or not, back to the future with wood. And here they go into the seabed. Here's how they do the damage. An exploding mine creates a gas bubble and shock waves that can tear a hole in a ship's hull. And once one is blown up, all traffic stopped. A fear of being blown up has basically stopped all the traffic in the area. Just a few barges have gotten through. Let's bring in retired U.S. Navy Admiral and FDD Senior Fellow Mark Montgomery. Admiral, the mines, they say, according to the studies, there's roughly only 9 or 10 mines in the Strait. But it's the fear of those mines that's keeping the tankers out.
Yeah, Brian, you're exactly right. That's a great description and great storyboard you had there, with all three different types of mines. What it is these mines right now, they have not laid a minefield per se. These are a small number that need to be swept and then cleared either by Navy divers putting explosives on them or the littoral combat ships removing them. But to do that, we need to set the military conditions in the Strait. We need to remove the missiles, the drones, the fast attack craft as well. Once we've established those conditions, we can get in there, clear the mines, and then begin setting up vessel transit schemes that allow us to, to bring through the merchant ships, 2 or 3 ships accompanied by a U.S. Navy air defense destroyer.
So that is really the power right now that Iran has. They're going to control that strait. I understand India, according to the Wall Street Journal, has contacted their counterpart in Iran, says, can you let our 23 ships get through? Do you think that's okay, as an American commander, if some of our allies reach out and try to get separate deals?
I don't, obviously. I think that we need to stand firm here. The reason the president is pushing for this 4-week air campaign is so that at the end of it, one of the aims will be to control traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. If we don't do this, the message to the world and to our particular Arab partners is that Iran controls that strait and Iran has the power. So it's critical that we actually, as a global entity, defeat this Iranian threat to the straits and allow the United States to escort these ships through until we establish the conditions where escorts are no longer required.
How close do you think we are, Admiral? I know we got about 75% of the launchers out. We're destroying the production ability of those rockets, short, medium, and long-range rockets. How close are we to doing that? Some people think if we destroy the Navy, there's no problem, but we really worry about land attacks and drone attacks.
Exactly, and really small boat attacks, like the Ukrainians do in the Black Sea, with unmanned vessels packed with explosives. And you've seen a few of those already hit ships off of Dubai. Brian, I think that, Admiral Cooper and General Kane have been pretty clear. This was a 3 to 4 week air campaign. I would say somewhere between March 21st and March 28th is the time frame I'd look for our ability to escort ships.
And people just have to be patient. This was a problem that has to be addressed. And also, 70% of South Korea's oil goes through that strait. A lot goes to China. There are now gas lines in China, and maybe that has a lot to do with the very few overflights on Taiwan. So other countries and other regions are feeling that more than us, but it's a global market, so we're all being affected. So do you think pressure from China and other allies could help us straighten out that strait?
I agree. I actually think China early on signaled to Iran not to do comprehensive, wide-scale mining. And in fact, normally they mine in the transit areas leading up, making it very difficult. I don't think that's happened. Look, Brian, this is a 47-year effort by the Iranian regime to take control of these straits. It's going to take 3 to 4 weeks for the United States to establish its dominance and be able to do the successful transiting. We've done it before. We did it in the 1980s. We can do it again now.
So great that we increased our production. We've changed everything since the 70s. We're really in control of our own energy output, but we do have to straighten out that strait and make the world know that that Iran will never be in control of that strait, even though they might be in control for the next few weeks. Admiral, thanks so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.